time, AW's Fantasy Football. We got 8 teams in the bracket, came down, one of the closest races in the history of fantasy football. Nobody was in until the last day. One team was, 2 teams were out, Libya's Legion and the Long Islanders. Both those teams were out at the beginning. They stink. Here we go. We got the playoffs. Libya's Legion in the bottom bracket gets Doppler. Pretty simple. MIA gets Long Islander. Pretty simple. All these teams during the season proved they stink. All these teams at some time during the season stunk. And all these teams by the end of the year stank. So going into the playoffs, regardless, I'm taking Libya, I'm taking LIA. 3 teams that at the end of this will completely stink, and 1 team will be just a little stinky. But there's my picks, Libya and MIA. Let's go to the big games. Moose and Fan 9. Moose number 1 ranking. Fan 9. Moose hasn't slept for weeks knowing he's going to be the number 1 seed. He's got Brett Favre in Arizona, Jay Cutler versus St. Louis. Very favorable matchup. Drew Brees at Washington, Flacco at Green Bay. Not so much for Fan 9. And Fred Jackson only threw an 8 spot up on the board. I like the Moose in this game. I got a Moose. Gigantor and Special Sauce. Gigantor slithered in at the end. Big power ranking all season long. Kind of came down the mountain a little bit. Still the number 2 seed. Still number 1 in the power ranking. He's got McNabb in Atlanta, Schaub at Jacksonville. Adrian Peterson and Pierre Thomas on his back. Special Sauce has got Phillip Rivers at Cleveland. Kyle Orton in Kansas City. Cedric Benson is back, and Maurice Jones-Drew is always there. If you look at the brackets, a lot of orange lights on Special Sauce. No orange lights for the Gigantor. There's a Monday Night Football kicker in this, and I have a feeling Special Sauce is going to week 2. I got the 3rd game goes YPI, the 3 seed, the U, the 6 seed. YPI is going to have Tony Romo against the U's Giants. Big Ben versus Oakland. 2 very favorable matchups. The U has to go with Alex Smith at Seattle and Chris Redmond right off the bench right in against Philadelphia. And don't forget about Chris Johnson there, Moose. He's liable to be running all over the Indianapolis Colts this weekend. Tennessee is hot. Last year, the U slipped in at the 6th seed. He's the 6th seed this year. A little deja vu. YPI was his last win last year. Might be his first win this year. Take the U in the game. And we'll go to the last one. Posse against Lightning Strikes. Rogers will be at Baltimore. Campbell is facing New Orleans. Lightning Strikes has Brady at Miami. Carson Palmer versus Detroit. Great matchups all the way across the board. Very difficult to pick. But I'm taking Lightning Strikes to knock the Pods out and stop the 4-game winning streak. And we'll go on to next week. Everyone's got to keep in mind, there's one thing that we're shooting for, and it's right here. There's only 8 teams that remain for the coveted trophy for AW's Fantasy Football. 4 teams have obviously found out they stink, and we went over all them before. 4 more teams are going to stink this week when we get into next week in the Final 4. Everybody keep their eyes on the tube. Everybody keep their eyes on the board. We know Moose will be. See everybody next week. AW's Fantasy Football, playoff time, nothing better.